those coming from Ghana, Nigeria, those African countries, we are not able to transfer wealth to generations. And so how can we do it? Per your experience and how you've been able to help some of these African immigrants, what is your advice to them? How do you advise them to be able to transform those wealth they are building to the next generation?
One good example is an annuity. Another good example is a life insurance asset. And when we say life insurance, everybody thinks about death, but it's not. There's a type of life insurance that you can use while you are living and save and invest monies in there. Now, another thing you can do is a trust. And let me use this opportunity to educate people on trust. A lot of people confuse it and think, oh yeah, if I just do a will, I'm fine. A will is good. Your assets will still go through probate, and after probate, they use a will to determine that you left a house for King OBED, you left a car for Charles. So it still goes through probate and all the problems with probate. One helpful way is to do a trust. What a trust does, in my understanding, is it isolates you from all your property. So for example, while I'm living, if I do a trust, the trust is called a living trust, which means it is living. Now, I transfer all my assets into the trust, but I am the caretaker of the assets. So it's still mine, I still withdraw, I still transfer, I still do whatever I need to do with it, but it belongs to the trust. And so when I die, it's just like the CEO of a company. When the CEO dies, they just pick a new CEO who is managing the company. So for a trust, when I also die, whoever I chose to be the next in command on my trust is the person who comes to take over, manages the assets, uses the money and everything to take care of my kids or whatever I decided in the trust. And so me personally, I don't own anything. And so when I die, there's nothing to go through probate. Do you see? And that is the power of a trust. And again, people have to educate themselves about these things to know that, okay, this is what I can do today while I'm alive, so that when I'm not around, the people I care about don't go through issues.
Wow. So, in your speech previous, you made mention of the life insurance, the indexed universal life insurance, and you said that it's quite different from the life insurance that we know. So for those who are not so familiar with that kind of insurance, throw more light on it for us. What actually is it?
Okay. So an indexed universal life insurance policy, I call it the real deal. A lot of people call it a family bank strategy, etc. People have different names. Now, what it does is, again, one of the things that is important for us to do, especially when we come to foreign land, is to unlearn some things that we know. So I say unlearn, learn, and keep learning.
Unlearn, learn, and keep learning.
Unlearn, learn, and keep learning. Unlearn because a lot of people have some ideas about, let's say, insurance that we bring from Ghana. Maybe because you couldn't trust the insurance system in Ghana. Maybe. But even I recently had a really good experience in Ghana about insurance. So maybe another question I can talk more about it. But because we have that impression about insurance, when someone starts to talk to us about insurance, we don't want to listen to it. And that is a problem. But if you learn, you realize that an indexed universal life insurance, and basically insurance, is a very critical tool for building wealth and also transferring wealth. Now, there are different types of insurance. There's term insurance, there's whole life, there's even group insurance, which is what your company gives you. Then there's what? Indexed universal. Now, group insurance your job gives to you. So that is great. It's cheap. It's free. Get it if your company gives it to you. Don't reject it. The problem is, as long as you are an employee, is when you have it. So it's on that condition. When you are laid off, when you are fired, when you leave the job, you no longer have it. Then there's term, which is temporal. The short thing I'll say about that is, it is like renting a house instead of buying a house. If you rent a house for 30 years, you move out with your clothes and your car and whatever you own, but you don't own the house. Now, the index universal is the buying a house idea, because with that, everything you're doing, you are generating cash value, which is a very strong investment tool. The other great thing about index universal life insurance policies is that they add 3 things that could be critical in wealth building. What are those 3 things? Mr. Obed, today you sitting here, you are only productive because you can work. Am I right?
Yeah.
What if you are sick in the room? Would you be able to generate money?
No.
So one of the biggest 3 or the top 3 financial dream killers are terminal illness, chronic illness, critical illness. A lot of us start building wealth without having protections against those things. And so maybe 5 years down the line, yes, you've been successful, you've saved or invested $500,000, but that money can easily be squandered if you get sick. And so a lot of people try to build a house without having a good foundation. A good foundation is protection. Protection from these financial dream killers. If you're ever sick, how does your kids keep life the same comfort level? Then the other side of it that is very beneficial is the fact that life insurance generally is tax-free. So when someone is taking money from their life insurance policy, depending on how they structure it, they can take that money tax-free. It grows tax-free, right? And they can transfer it to their kids tax-free, no estate taxes. Additionally, it doesn't go through probate. The probate court we talked about. So if you have money in a life insurance policy and you should pass, what does it mean? It means that your wife can take that payout and be able to keep the family running. And that's a very powerful tool right there.